In the ancient land of Bethlehem, where survival was uncertain and social hierarchies rigid, the tale of Ruth and Boaz unfolds not just as a love story, but as a strategic alignment in a time of desperation. Ruth, a Moabite widow, finds herself bound to Naomi, her mother-in-law, who has also lost everything: her husband, her sons, her security. The decision for Ruth to follow Naomi back to Bethlehem is often praised as an act of loyalty, yet beneath the surface lies a deeper, more pragmatic calculation. Ruth's declaration, "Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God my God," while often romanticized as devotion, can also be seen as a survival strategy. As a foreign widow, Ruth had no rights, no land, and no prospects among her own people. To remain in Moab would have meant almost certain poverty and marginalization. Naomi, though destitute, was still connected by blood to Bethlehem, a community bound by obligations of kinship. Ruth's choice to stay with Naomi was perhaps less about faithfulness and more about the best option available in a world where options for women, especially foreign widows, were starkly limited. Upon arriving in Bethlehem, Ruth begins gleaning in the fields of Boaz, a wealthy and influential landowner. Their meeting is often portrayed as providential, but consider the setup. Naomi specifically instructs Ruth to glean in Boaz's fields, aware of his status as a kinsman redeemer. This isn't mere coincidence, it's a strategic move. Naomi understands the levirate marriage customs and sees an opportunity for both her and Ruth to secure their future through Boaz's wealth and obligation. Ruth's behavior in the fields is submissive, calculated. She works hard, she is humble, and she captures Boaz's attention with a foreignness and vulnerability. But is it love that sparks his interest, or charity disguised as obligation? Boaz himself comments on Ruth's loyalty to Naomi as the reason for his kindness. Was his affection genuine, or was it the weight of societal expectations that pushed him towards redeeming Naomi's family line? The critical turning point comes during the night on the threshing floor, a scene often glossed over with the veil of modesty. Naomi instructs Ruth to uncover his feet and lie down, a euphemism that hints at far more than simple rest. Ruth's actions are bold, scandalous, even. She approaches a powerful man alone, at night, and lays herself at his mercy. Some might call it faith, others might call it desperation, a calculated risk to secure a future. The next morning, Boaz agrees to pursue the right to marry Ruth, but only after ensuring that another kinsman, with a stronger claim, is willing to relinquish his rights. This negotiation is transactional, almost businesslike. Boaz's declaration in front of the elders is less a proclamation of love and more a legal contract, acquiring property, fulfilling obligations, and cementing his legacy. But is this truly a love story? Or is it a tale of survival, where love is secondary to necessity, and loyalty is less about devotion and more about survival in a patriarchal structure that left women like Ruth and Naomi with few choices? With Boaz's public declaration and the legalities settled, Ruth becomes his wife. This union is celebrated as the triumphant conclusion to a love story, a foreign widow redeemed by a benevolent landowner. But if we strip away the romanticism, what remains is a contract of survival and legacy. Ruth's integration into Boaz's household would have been no small feat as a Moabite. She was still regarded as an outsider. The Moabites were historically seen with suspicion by the Israelites, often considered enemies. The decision for Boaz to marry Ruth wasn't just a gesture of kindness. It was a statement that carried political and social weight. Boaz's reputation as a man of standing meant that his actions were under scrutiny, and marrying a Moabite woman could be perceived as either scandalous or a testament to his magnanimity. But was it truly altruism? Boaz's motives might be seen through another lens: legacy. Boaz was a man of wealth and influence, but the extension of his name and property through offspring would solidify his place in Bethlehem's history. Marrying Ruth wasn't simply an act of kindness. It was also a method to expand his influence and secure his estate. Through Ruth, Boaz gained access to Naomi's family property and extended his lineage, an investment in legacy disguised as redemption. Ruth's role in this new life is equally complex. Her primary function now is to produce an heir. The birth of Obed is celebrated widely, not just as a blessing to Ruth and Boaz, but more notably, as a restoration of Naomi's line. The women of Bethlehem proclaim, "Naomi has a son," a curious statement given that it is Ruth who bore the child. It is as though Ruth's role as the mother is secondary to the social restoration of Naomi's legacy. In this view, Ruth is less a celebrated matriarch and more a vessel through which male lineage is restored. The narrative continues to elevate Obed as the grandfather of King David, a direct connection to Israel's royal line and, later, to Jesus Christ. But there is a lingering question: was Ruth truly valued for who she was, or for what she could provide? A son, a legacy, and a fulfillment of the Levirate law. In a society where woman's worth was tied to childbirth and the continuation of family lines, Ruth's story takes on a different shade. Her faithfulness and loyalty are indeed admirable, but they also align perfectly with societal expectations that left her little room for alternative paths. Naomi, too, is resurrected in status through Ruth's marriage and the birth of Obed. Once bitter and hopeless, she is now restored to a place of honor in the community. Yet, this restoration is contingent entirely on Ruth's compliance and Boaz's willingness to fulfill his duty. Had Ruth failed to secure Boaz's interest, Naomi's story would have ended in destitution. And then there's the matter of Ruth's autonomy, or the lack thereof. Each step of a journey is orchestrated by necessity. Her decision to stay with Naomi, her gleaning in the fields of Boaz, her nighttime visit to the threshing floor, and finally, her marriage. All of it unfolds within the tight constraints of survival, propriety, and obedience to the customs of time. One might wonder, did Ruth ever truly have a choice? Or was she simply navigating the narrow path laid before her? With Naomi as the strategist and Boaz as the benefactor, this reimagining isn't to suggest that Ruth's faith and loyalty weren't genuine, but it does beg the question: how much of her story is driven by love? Here to keep your faith burning, and don't forget to check our next video.